Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. There are significant problems in my relationship with Ethan. We've been having repeated arguments and cold wars. We are exhausted from coping with it all. Just at this moment, I found out I was pregnant. I brought the pregnancy test results to him, but he handed me a divorce agreement. Ethan said, "Let's get a divorce." I tightened my grip on the pregnancy test results and looked at him. The person in front of me was someone I knew all too well, yet his expression was cold and distant, as if shutting me out completely. "Why?" I asked. A sarcastic loneliness curved his lips. He said nonchalantly, "I'm tired, weary, bored. We haven't been intimate for over half a year. You must have felt something." I looked at him somewhat stunned. It seemed Ethan remembered something. He hurriedly turned his head, crushing the cigarette he had been holding. He said, "The last time was an accident." I was a bit bewildered, but I quickly understood he must be referring to that time in mid-last month when he came back from a social event drunk, insisted on calling me wife, and we ended up sleeping together. For married couples, this is not only normal but also an obligation. However, for Ethan, it seemed to have become something he was embarrassed to mention. If Ethan's feelings of being tired and weary were like a slap to my face, then his unnecessary explanation felt like a knife piercing my heart. I crumpled the pregnancy test results in my hand, opened my bag, and stuffed them inside. I said, "Okay." Ethan looked stunned, as if he suddenly ran out of words. He must have prepared many arguments, but I didn't give him the chance to express them. This feeling of unresolved tension clearly made his face show signs of frustration, but that didn't please me. I thought, why does he think I would cling to him? Even if my hands trembled slightly, he said, "Fine, here's the divorce agreement. Take a look. I've divided the assets in there. If you're not satisfied, you can raise it. This apartment will also be left to you." I took the contract and examined it carefully. As for the asset division, I could only describe it with 2 words: generous and fair. Moreover, such a detailed contract could not be completed in just one day. He had been planning this for a long time. I asked him, "Did you start preparing this?" Ethan's tone was somewhat impatient. "Is it interesting to ask that?" "It's not interesting. I just wanted to know if the candle at dinner I carefully prepared for him the day before was a self-indulgent act." By then, we had been in a cold war for a week. It all started when I tried to give him a peck on the cheek before he went to work, but he rejected me. He said, "We're old married folks. There's no need to be so clingy." Old married folks? Not really, but it has indeed been a solid 7 years. 7 years, just a phase of weariness. His reaction plunged the atmosphere between us into a deep freeze. We tacitly began our Cold War. I didn't know how he felt, but I felt quite miserable. I began to reflect on myself, wondering if I was too sensitive and making a big deal out of nothing. So, I made dinner and called him to come back early. He returned, and we had an awkward dinner together. On the surface, it looked like we were reconciled, but in reality, I knew the invisible barrier between us was getting thicker. So asking these questions knowingly was indeed quite pointless. I picked up the pen on the table and signed my name at the end of the document. "I don't want the house." I glanced at the time. It was 10 a.m. "I'll arrange for someone to come by this afternoon to pack up." Ethan frowned. "Why don't you want the house?" I looked around. The decoration style here was designed by me according to my preferences. For the subsequent renovations, Ethan personally supervised, striving for a 100% reproduction with no flaws. This house was created together by Ethan and me. Living here after the divorce, I was afraid it would irritate me. I smiled at him. "I'm tired of it, weary, and want to change to a new place." Ethan's face visibly darkened at a rapid pace. He gritted his teeth. "Do whatever you want." I nodded. "Tomorrow at 8 a.m., bring your ID, household registration book, and marriage certificate. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau." Are you that anxious? I sighed inwardly. Ethan was in a good state at first, easily overpowering me, but now he was showing signs of backing down. I was someone who knew how to hit where it hurt. I actually appreciate you bringing up the divorce now. After all, I'm only 29. I can take a loss. I've heard that women like me are quite sought after. I raised an eyebrow at him. Time waits for no one. I need to find my second spring. Ethan glared at me fiercely, his breathing noticeably quickening. Emily, don't go too far. We're not divorced yet. With a countdown of 22 hours. You won't backtrack, right? Ethan's eyes blazed with fire. Countdown, 21 hours and 47 minutes. Whoever backtracks is a fool. I turned away with satisfaction, heading for the door. Wait, Ethan called me back. You said you had something to tell me. What is it? My hand instinctively pressed down on my bag. No, it's nothing. Back at the studio, I asked my assistant, Sophia, to help me pack my things. She had always been by my side and was most familiar with my daily life and that home. She looked at me in surprise and asked, Sis, what happened? I hadn't planned to hide it from her, so I said, I'm getting a divorce. Sophia was initially shocked, then became angry. President Ethan is such a terrible person. I'll start packing immediately, and I won't leave him a single piece of fabric. With that, she stormed out. I watched her back, feeling a bit dazed. Sophia had been with me for 8 years, longer than my marriage, so she had witnessed everything between Ethan and me. She saw our passionate love, and also the waning of our affection. She used to look at me with envy and say, Sis, I believe in love again. Sis, I must find a man who loves me as much as President Ethan loves you in the future. Sis, you're so happy, but now I think Ethan and I have shattered her illusions about love and marriage. What a grave sin. I took the pregnancy test results out of my bag. This child could not have come at a worse time. Ethan and I had been married for 7 years. At the beginning, we weren't ready to be parents, so we used contraception. In the past 2 years, as we grew older, and with both our parents urging us, we decided to have a child. But things didn't go as planned. Then our relationship slowly began to show problems, and the chances of intimacy became fewer and fewer. Just like Ethan said, aside from the last time, we really hadn't been intimate for over half a year. I hadn't expected that an unintended encounter would lead to this. It was just that the timing was off. Since that was the case, it would be better to resolve it early. After explaining to the studio staff, I drove straight to the hospital. I originally planned to schedule the surgery for the day after tomorrow. However, the doctor told me that the gestational sac was still too small, only 0.3, and advised me to come back in a week. A week later, I touched my abdomen, and my mood instantly plummeted. I sat expressionlessly in the car. I hate waiting, especially when this waiting is for the growth of a life. How absurd. A little life that I nurtured. I have to wait for it to grow, and the goal is to terminate it. Just then, I received a call from Sophia. She asked, Sis, what should we do with the wedding photos in the house? Wedding photos? My expression turned even colder. Trash should stay in the trash heap. Sophia's tone became lively. Okay, I understand. Later, Sophia told me that while she was handling the wedding photos, Ethan returned. She said that when he saw them throwing the wedding photos out, his face turned green, and he questioned them about what they were doing. Then Sophia conveyed my words to him. Sis, you don't know. After hearing that, President Ethan's expression was, wow, truly a colorful shade of black. Then he grabbed scissors and ripped up all the photos. Although President Ethan is ruthless, I still feel like he's in a bad mood. Sis, do you think President Ethan will regret it? I scoffed. Regret? Not at all, just a bruised ego. All right, let's focus on work. Don't mention him again. Oh, I had calculated everything, but I didn't expect Ethan to stand me up. Not only did he not show up, but he also wouldn't answer his phone. I chuckled coldly. Dog still a dog. I went straight to his company. The receptionist respectfully let me in, but his secretary stopped me. This girl was somewhat attractive but not overly alluring, and I'd seen her before. Just over a month ago, she helped a drunk Ethan home. Ethan had his arm around her shoulders, and she was holding his waist, looking as intimate as conjoined twins. Moreover, as if afraid I wouldn't notice, she pointed to the lipstick mark on Ethan's collar and said, "Sis, President Ethan was drunk, and I accidentally left a lipstick mark. Please don't be angry. Any man with a bit of capital is dangerous when let loose. Over the years, I've seen too many tricks." This girl clearly didn't measure up, so I told her, "You shouldn't be speaking at this moment. You should be shy and hesitant, avoiding my gaze while waiting for me to guess and discover. That's true high-level annoyance, you understand?" Then she really began to avoid my gaze and eventually fled in a panic. However, it seemed my lesson for her wasn't deep enough. "Miss Emily, President Ethan is in a meeting and doesn't have time. If you have something to discuss, you can make an appointment in advance." I scoffed. "The divorce agreement you prepared?" The flicker of joy in the secretary's eyes disappeared in an instant. Without waiting for her to speak, I continued, "Little sister, showing off with me is obviously unwise. You may not know that I have shares in this company. Don't say I can decide not only Ethan's office, but even your employment status." The secretary was clearly intimidated by me. "What's the commotion?" Ethan suddenly appeared, speaking with a harsh tone. The secretary seemed to see her anchor. "President Ethan, I'm just doing my job, but Miss Emily wants to dismiss me." Ethan didn't even spare her a glance. He looked at me and asked, "What are you doing here? What's with the act?" I tapped my watch. "The countdown is over." "Are you planning to be my grandson?" Ethan's face was as dark as coal. "I forgot about the morning meeting. Fine, I'll give you one more chance. We still have time. Let's go. I have something else later." I interrupted him. "Cancel it." Ethan looked at me. I composed myself and met his gaze. "Ethan, I'm not here to joke with you. You're busy and I'm busy too. You've already wasted an hour of my time." Ethan scoffed. "Fine, let's go." We arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau one after the other. I asked Sophia to help me wait for my turn. When we arrived, there were only 2 people ahead of us. "Sis, I'll head in first." I nodded and found a place to sit. Ethan huffed. "You really came prepared. What's the matter? Did you want a divorce all along? If you wanted one, you could have just brought it up. I wouldn't have." "Ethan," I interrupted him, "what's with the sarcasm? What are you upset about? You're not regretting it, are you?" "How could that be?" Ethan suddenly stood up as if someone had stepped on his tail. "I can't possibly regret it. I'm going out for a smoke." With that, he hurriedly walked outside. For the next half hour, we didn't exchange a single word. Both of us sat there expressionlessly, sitting far apart like a divorced couple. The process was quick. In just 10 minutes, we obtained our divorce certificate. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, Ethan said, "Want to grab a bite? A breakup meal, if you want to put it that way." "Fine," I smiled briefly. "No need. I have plans." "With whom?" Ethan's expression darkened. "None of your business." I got into my car and drove off. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Ethan standing there. He remained there until my car turned the corner. "Ethan, don't you dare regret this. If you're playing that you don't know what you have until it's gone. Game with me, that would truly insult the feelings we've built over the years. Ethan and I are alumni from the same university. Our encounter was quite dramatic. At that time, I was 18, just got my driver's license, and was driving my dad's car around campus. However, my skills were poor, and I couldn't parallel park. In my panic, I turned the steering wheel and hit the gas, crashing into the green belt. Ethan, who was watching the spectacle, had been amused watching me struggle, but little did he know he would end up being a casualty. I had no choice but to take care of him, which I did for half a month. He was quite difficult to please, constantly complaining. That half-month felt like a hellish experience for me. As soon as it was over, I bolted away, but he began to pursue me. Because of the torment of those half-months, it took Ethan 6 months to win me over. Afterward, he regretted it immensely. He said, "I was just teasing you because I liked you. How could that be considered torment?" I was speechless, crying over someone you like. This isn't elementary school logic, is it? Many subsequent facts proved that Ethan indeed had elementary school logic. He was immature, impulsive, and didn't think ahead. He did whatever he wanted. Being with him was joyous because he could always bring you the hottest passion. But love cannot always stay at a boiling point. As it gradually cools, it turns into bland, lukewarm water. How much impact did the divorce have on me? The people around me might think it was almost negligible because I appeared calm and collected, joking and laughing, unaffected in both work and life. But I knew I was just numbing myself with busy work. That was the only way I could avoid overthinking, not thinking about Ethan, not thinking about the child. But Ethan insisted on confronting me, even going so far as to attack my client. It all started when my client helped me when I almost fell. "What are you doing? Who the hell told you to touch her?" I only saw a flash, and then the man who had been helping me was kicked away. Ethan was on top of him, throwing punch after punch. I quickly reacted and rushed to pull him away. "Ethan, stop. Are you crazy? Stop now." Ethan turned to glare at me. "Are you protecting him? What's wrong with you?" "He's my client. A client." "His hand was on your waist. When did you start using your looks to attract clients?" "Ethan, get lost." I hit him hard on the back with my bag. "Have you lost your mind? Can't you tell right from wrong?" Ethan raised his hand to block and pushed me away. I staggered backward until I collided with a column behind me. A sharp pain shot through my spine. Then my abdomen cramped and ached. I slowly sank to the ground, my vision blurring. "Emily, Emily, what's wrong? Why is your face so pale? You're bleeding. Where are you hurt? I only pushed you lightly. Where did you hit? Emily, don't scare me. What's happening?" I regained consciousness in the hospital. The first thing I saw was Ethan. His expression was complex. He asked, "Why didn't you tell me?" "Tell you what?" "About the baby. Why didn't you tell me?" "Was that what you wanted to say last time? Why didn't you say anything? If you had said—" I pulled my hand away from his. "There are no gifts. We're already divorced, and I have no intention of keeping this child." Ethan suddenly stood up. "What do you mean?" "It means I'm going to terminate this pregnancy." Ethan looked at me in disbelief. "On what grounds? This is our child. How can you make that decision alone? Wait, you haven't scheduled the surgery? After all this time, you're planning to keep it, aren't you? You're just angry at me." I gave a sarcastic smile. "You're overthinking it. The embryo is too small. It's not suitable for surgery. If you don't believe me, ask the doctor." Ethan seemed provoked by my words, his eyes widening in shock. "Why?" I looked at him. "What do you mean, why? It's just an embryo." "What are you arguing with me about?" Ethan's breathing grew a bit erratic. "Just an embryo? This is our child." I irritably turned my head away. "Just go. We're divorced. My business has nothing to do with you." "What do you mean it has nothing to do with me? Emily, get this straight. Without me, can you reproduce on your own?" I scoffed. "It was just an accident. If it shouldn't have happened, it shouldn't be kept. I won't allow it." Ethan shouted, "This is our child. You have no right to make a unilateral decision." I didn't know if it was the pregnancy hormones or Ethan that ignited the anger within me. I fought to suppress it, not wanting to lose control, not dignified. But Ethan didn't know when to back off. He said, "Emily, let's not fight anymore. Let's live well from now on, okay?" "Ethan," I interrupted him, "let's stop playing this game. If this identity doesn't work, let's just switch to another one." "What do you mean?" Ethan asked, confused. "There's a saying online that's quite amusing. It goes, 'Never let a woman cry.'" When a woman cries, water enters her brain. Once she drains that water, she becomes difficult to deal with. I used to think it was ridiculous. Are women really that love-struck? I didn't believe it, but later I discovered that it seemed to be the truth. When you're in the situation, it's hard to see the whole picture. Once you step outside, many things become clear. Do you remember what happened before we got married, Ethan? Why did you then marry me, Ethan? And I got married shortly after graduating from university. He proposed and I agreed, but before we got married, our relationship had already started to show signs of trouble. They say graduation season is also breakup season. Entering the workforce with a new circle and new experiences, relationships become variables. Ethan and I were no exception. At that time, he started a business with his friends. I was still in school, preparing for graduate school while working part-time as a designer. We rented a place near the university. At first, he tried to come home every day, but gradually it turned into once a week. On one such day, we had made plans for him to come back. I even prepared a feast. But in the afternoon, he suddenly called to say he couldn't make it due to an unexpected matter. I felt quite disappointed. Normally, I would be understanding and tell him it was fine, but that time was different. I suddenly became stubborn. I told him, "No, you have to come back." Ethan was silent for a long time and only replied with one word, "Okay." He didn't argue or fight with me, as if nothing was wrong. Until the next morning, we were still asleep when his phone suddenly rang. I casually picked up the phone, switched it to speaker, and held it to his ear. Then a woman's voice came through. She said, "Hey bro, you tore my black stockings. Are you going to pay for them? You wouldn't want to back out, would you?" Ethan sat up abruptly, trying to grab the phone, but I was faster. With a cold expression, I spoke into the phone. "He might not be able to pay, but if you give me your address, I'll make sure it gets to you. You'll never run out of it for the rest of your life." The call ended immediately. Ethan explained it was just someone from a KTV. "People like that talk nonsense." "Why are you taking it so seriously?" I replied, "Really? If people are like that, why do you still keep in touch with her?" Ethan's expression was impatient. "About last time, I told you I was with a client. I left my contact information. Look, I didn't even save her name. If she calls me, what can I do?" But he quickly got slapped in the face by his own words. I checked his call log. Just yesterday afternoon, when he called to say he wasn't coming back, the minute before he had received a call from that number, and the minute after, he called that number back. "What's going on?" I asked him. After a moment of silence, he replied, "She called me yesterday and asked me to go out for dinner." He added, "But I didn't go in the end, did I?" I laughed in anger. "Did you not go? I didn't let you go. If I hadn't been so firm, would you have gone to buy her stockings again?" "Ethan, if you don't give her any opportunity, how would she come on to you? You said she was someone inconsequential, so why are you still in contact with her? I really don't like this side of you." At that moment, I was like many other girls. I thought my boyfriend didn't realize that his actions would upset me, so I had to tell him to change. But I forgot we all came from 9 years of compulsory education. Who's smarter than whom? Ethan was very impatient. Okay, I get it. I won't contact her anymore." But did he really stop? Later, I checked his call records again. In less than 20 days, there were 3 calls, all in the middle of the night. We erupted into a fierce argument once more. In a fit of rage, Ethan impulsively said, "Let's break up." After saying that, he regretted it. He held me in close, saying he only wanted that girl to hold a spot for him. He promised he would never contact her again and block that number. In truth, even then, I felt that Ethan wouldn't really do anything. He just didn't know how much his actions would hurt me. After that incident, he proposed to me. We transitioned from being boyfriend and girlfriend to starting a new journey as husband and wife. "Ethan," I asked him, Did you really not know what you were doing back then, or were you seeking novelty? Ethan, did you genuinely want to marry me, or did you want to change your identity because the romance was going nowhere? After 3.5 years of dating, the novelty wore off, and you couldn't take it anymore, so we got married to start over with a new identity. At the beginning of our marriage, we were very happy. We got up together. I made breakfast while he ground soy milk. Then we went to work together, and he always dropped me off at the company. I said I could drive myself. He said, if my wife has to do everything herself, what use do I have as her husband? He would report everything to me and discuss everything with me. He would even brag to me. Today, another woman asked for my contact info, but I resolutely refused her. Am I being a good husband? Every day after work, he always arrived at my studio half an hour early, bringing me a bouquet of roses. He said, whatever others have, our Emily must have double. Every week, he would set aside a day for a date. We would go to the movies or camping. He would plan everything. He said, all you have to do, Emily, is enjoy yourself. He rarely went out for social events unless he couldn't decline. He would cook, read, and tidy up the house with me at home. He said, marriage is great. Having a wife is so happy. We traveled every year. We visited different places and saw different scenery. He said, I want to take you all over the world until we're old and can't walk anymore. We seemed to return to the sweet period of our relationship. Everything was so wonderful. He was like a blazing fire, making it feel like I was breathing in heat. But even the largest fire eventually burns out. When the flames were finally extinguished, all that was left was rubble. But Ethan, how long did your passion really last? Just 3 years? 3 years later, his enthusiasm gradually faded. Our marriage returned to calm. At that time, I didn't think much of it. It seemed so normal. Life isn't a drama after all. Everything eventually returns to the mundane aspects of life. That's the norm in marriage. So we lived peacefully for 2 years. Then our relationship took a sharp turn and fell to the bottom. After the divorce, I finally began to reflect on my past with Ethan. I dissected everything that had happened, breaking it apart and analyzing it. Finally, I saw the whole picture clearly. When did our marriage start showing warning signs? I think it probably began when we lost desire for each other. It was a very ordinary evening. We were lying in bed, preparing to sleep, when Ethan suddenly leaned over and started kissing me. This was all too familiar for us, and what would happen next felt like a natural progression, but then he suddenly stopped. He propped himself up and looked at me for a few seconds before letting me go. You go ahead and sleep. I just remembered there's some work I haven't finished, he said. We had been together for so long that I had long since gotten past being sensitive to his emotions. I didn't think much of it and fell asleep alone that night. He didn't come back, sleeping directly in his study. Instead, the next day, he went on a business trip that lasted 2 weeks. When he returned, he had become a workaholic, like a 007. By the time I realized what was happening, our relationship had already hit rock bottom. We can't maintain this romantic relationship. You need to get married, and once you're married, you'll need to get divorced. Now I looked at Ethan. Does the prospect of having a child make you think we can maintain our relationship through parenthood? But Ethan, I don't want it like this anymore, I said. I said a lot to Ethan. I thought that after saying all this, he would come to understand, but it seemed he was lost in his own world. With red eyes, he said to me, I won't let you. He stubbornly refused to let me have the procedure. He caused a scene at the hospital and even hit a security guard. The hospital was ready to call the police. Watching the farce unfold before me, seeing Ethan in such distress, I finally nodded to cancel the procedure, and a relieved smile spread across Ethan's face. I started to not understand him. What was he so fixated on? I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. During those 3 days, Ethan kept vigil by my side, as if the moment he took his eyes off me, I would somehow manage to get rid of the child. We didn't communicate much during that time, whether as a couple or as a married couple. Many things are understood without being spoken because words can hurt. It's hard to find the right balance. I had already laid everything bare. It was like tearing apart all the facades, peeling away all the gloss. What remained was a bloody mess, leaving us both hurt. When I was discharged, Ethan asked me where I was going. I said I was heading back to the studio. He frowned. "You need to rest." I looked at him expressionlessly. "Ethan, I never agreed to keep this child." Seeing Ethan's emotions about to flare up again, I immediately stopped him. I was exhausted from dealing with his feelings and actions. I said, "If you won't take me back to the studio, I'll just take a taxi." Ethan finally relented. Previously, because Ethan had hit my client, it had a very negative impact on the studio. I had Sophia soothe and compensate the client, promising to design his house for free. However, he insisted that I personally handled the design. I agreed. The other party had been urging us constantly. This was also the reason I was delaying the abortion. The doctor told me that the best time for an abortion is between 7 to 8 weeks of pregnancy. My gaze fell lightly on Ethan. Yesterday he asked me, "Emily, do you really hate me that much?" I didn't answer him. In truth, there wasn't really any hatred between us. It wasn't that severe. It was just that we had lost the way to continue our relationship. Or more mundanely put, we weren't compatible. Through the rearview mirror, Ethan glanced at me. The moment our eyes met, I slowly looked away. I had been busy for a week and finally satisfied the client. During that week, Ethan seemed like he was unemployed, practically setting up camp in my studio. Everyone except Sophia was envious. Sophia wasn't very fond of Ethan. She complained to me, "Men are so ungrateful. They don't cherish a good life and have to make things difficult. Now they're regretting it. Sister, you must not easily forgive him," she continued. I was taken aback. "Do you think I would get back together with him?" Sophia nodded. "You and President Ethan don't have any major conflicts, and there's no infidelity or domestic violence, no unforgivable sins. Divorce is impulsive, so isn't getting back together just a matter of time?" Her words left me silent, faced with Ethan and all these years of feelings. Sometimes I would also feel a bit dazed. Was I being too serious? Ethan had already apologized. He hadn't really done anything wrong. Besides, there was the presence of the child. Shouldn't I give him an easy way out? I felt lost, so I decided to give it one last try. I signed up for a new parents' experience course, bringing Ethan along. There were many others participating in this training camp, just like us. Some were already very pregnant, while others were just starting to show. Some, like me, still didn't look pregnant at all. At first, the instructor covered a lot of theoretical knowledge. Ethan listened attentively while I watched him closely. I couldn't imagine what Ethan would be like as a father, just as I couldn't imagine what I would be like as a mother. However, the title of Emily's child's father seemed like it could only belong to Ethan. But then suddenly I stood up. "What's wrong?" Ethan asked. "Nothing, just going out for some fresh air." "I'll go with you." I shook my head. "You stay here. I'll just step out for a bit." I spent half an hour outside. I thought about a lot, yet it felt like I thought of nothing at all. I was a mess. When I walked back in, Ethan was standing there holding the baby, looking utterly helpless. The scene was somewhat amusing. "What are you doing at this time?" I asked him. Ethan said, "I'm burping the baby." The instructor explained a baby's stomach is horizontal. If you lay them down immediately after feeding, it's easy for... After feeding, you must burp them to expel the air they swallowed. I had no idea about this. Does it need to be done every time after feeding? Yes. How often does the baby need to eat? The instructor said newborns are fed on demand, whenever the baby is hungry or the mother is engorged. They need to be fed generally every 1 to 2 hours. As the baby grows, The frequency will gradually decrease, but it varies from baby to baby. The instructor smiled and added, "Some babies come to repay kindness, while others come to take revenge. Theory is just theory." That afternoon, Ethan learned how to hold a baby, how to dress and change diapers, how to burp a baby, and how to bathe one. By the time we came out of the training camp, he let out a long sigh. "Are you tired?" I asked. He straightened his back immediately. "Not tired." Looking at him, I said, "The one thing in this world that cannot be done halfway or abandoned midway is raising a child. From the moment he enters this world until he starts to speak, then takes his first steps and slowly grows up, it's something that once started cannot be stopped. The identity of a father comes with no passion, only responsibility and duty. Ethan, are you really ready for this?" Ethan opened his mouth to speak, but I stopped him. "You don't have to rush to answer. Take your time to think about it." I needed time to think too. Ethan continued to appear in front of me every day without fail. He prepared various nutritious meals for me, and wherever I went, he accompanied me, just like when we had just gotten married. Sophia teased me, "Sister, am I going to have a feast soon?" But my heart was slowly sinking. Ethan seemed somewhat distracted. Others didn't notice, but I could see it at a glance. He would occasionally zone out for a few seconds, or glance at my belly with a heavy expression. I wanted to tell myself that I was overthinking things, but then I inadvertently saw the search page on his phone. Is it harmful to the body to have an abortion after the optimal time? When I saw the search record, I didn't feel too sad. Instead, I felt a sense of relief, as if a burden had been lifted. Ethan awkwardly averted his gaze from me. His hand holding the lunchbox looked pale and weak. I took the lunchbox from him. "This is the last time. Thank you." As I turned to leave, Ethan grabbed my hand. "Emily," he looked at me with pain in his eyes, like a person about to drown. "I've tried. I've been going to the training camp these days, trying to force myself to accept it. I can't do it. The thought of being bound by a child for the rest of my life feels like I'm stuck in a swamp. No matter how hard I struggle, I can't break free from the mud. But Emily, I love you. Let's not have the baby and start over, okay? Emily, I regret it. The moment you agreed to the divorce, I regretted it. Emily, I don't want to hurt you, but I also don't want to lose you. Emily, what should I do?" I listened to Ethan calmly until he finished speaking. I didn't say anything, just quietly looked at him. Ethan stared back at me, finally slowly letting go of my hand. "Ethan, goodbye." Did Ethan still love me? Maybe, but more than that, it was probably just a habit. I felt the same. 11 years I had grown accustomed to having him at home, to having him behind me. Suddenly, I was all alone, and my body and mind felt empty. This feeling was very painful, but what could I do? Just settle for this? No, that wouldn't work. Changing habits was terrifying, but living the rest of my life relying on habits was even more terrifying. I was very grateful to Ethan. He helped me step out of the maze, and he allowed me to lose at an age I could afford to lose. I scheduled the procedure for a day later, and Ethan accompanied me. He said he wanted to be with me one last time. I agreed. Throughout the process, I remained calm, but when I came out of the operating room, I couldn't help but cry. Ethan was gone without a sound. Sophia scolded Ethan for being cold-blooded and heartless. I knew he must not have known how to face me. Sophia asked, "Sister, don't you regret it?" I shook my head. "No, I don't know." I tiredly closed my eyes. When we were young, we did many things that now seem embarrassing enough to make us want to dig our toes into the ground. We would think in regret, how could I have done that? But when looking back, did we know we would regret it in the future? No, it was simply that our life experiences and mental maturity at that time allowed us to make those choices. It's the same now. I can't guarantee whether I will regret it in the future. I only know that right now I need to do this. As for everything else, I'll leave it to fate. Epilogue. After Emily's abortion, Ethan locked himself in his home for half a month. His mother brought a locksmith to break down his door and dug him out from a pile of garbage. What do you want to do? Are you trying to commit suicide by takeout? Ethan was very sad. He said he had lost Emily forever, feeling like he was suffocating in the air. His mother sneered after hearing this. Do you know what you resemble right now? A child who can't get any candy? Ethan glared at her. His mother didn't blink. You think this is painful enough? You have no idea. Just wait until Emily starts a new relationship. Then you'll know what true despair feels like. Ethan cried. Even he didn't expect that a single sentence from his mother would make him break down in tears. Wiping his tears away in a mess, he growled, Emily won't. His mother let out a scoff. Emily is much stronger than you. Sooner or later, she will move on from this failed relationship and start a new life. Is that so hard to understand? Ethan couldn't accept it. Just listening to it was unbearable. I'm going to find Emily. His mother blocked his path. It's too late. Ethan shook his head. No, as long as I can comfort her properly, I can win her back. Emily loves me. Yes, I'll pursue her again, and we'll start over. His mother looked at him with disappointment. Do you know that after a woman has an abortion, she needs to rest for a while? She needs to stay in bed, pay attention to her diet, and avoid heavy physical activity. Some even need fluids for inflammation. I heard her mother came to take care of her personally. When I visited with your dad, they wouldn't even let us in and threw the supplements out. His mother scoffed. You really brought us shame. Ethan's heart sank. He didn't know what this resting period was about. How was he supposed to know such things? Didn't the doctor say it was just a minor procedure? Why did she need to be in bed for so long? Of course you don't know, his mother said. You only care about your own emotions, about whether you're happy or not. You want something new in your life all the time. You can't sit still. You've been like this since you were a kid. If you're asked to do something you don't want to do, it's like taking your life. Right now, are you truly sad because you lost Emily? Or do you feel sad because it's an emotion you haven't experienced before? Pain can also be a form of stimulation. No, Ethan stepped back repeatedly and smashed a vase on the ground. How dare you say that about me? How dare you judge my feelings for Emily? His mother sighed. Ethan, first you need to learn to grow up. You need to learn to take responsibility. Take it slow. Anyway, you have no wife and no children, so you're free as a bird. Growth and responsibility, these were foreign concepts to Ethan. He always believed that the most important thing in life was to be happy. There were many things that made Ethan happy, and ever since he met Emily, 90% of his happiness came from her. But why did Ethan want a divorce? He had lost feelings for Emily. Holding her hand felt like holding his left hand with his right. He kissed her, hugged her, and his heart didn't even race anymore. He even felt that sleeping next to her would disturb him with her breathing. He had once had a puppy as a child. At first, he loved it, but later found it troublesome and gave it away. Emily wasn't a puppy. He couldn't just say he didn't want her anymore. He had to pretend that their love was as strong as ever. This was suffocating. Ethan felt annoyed. He began to linger around other people, flirting and engaging in physical contact. It was quite exciting. At least it was more interesting than being at home. So, Ethan filed for divorce. He was prepared for how to respond if Emily clung to him, but Emily agreed. In that moment, Ethan's brain froze. No, this isn't how things should develop. Why did she agree without hesitation? Wasn't she supposed to struggle with him? He had thought about this for so long. Just a week ago, Emily was still trying to please him. Emily loved him so much. How could she just agree when he said divorce? Ethan really wanted to take back what he had just said, but Emily didn't give him the chance to regret it. Ethan regretted it the moment he said the word divorce. He wanted to see Emily, but he didn't dare. He followed Emily for 3 days. Whenever Emily turned around, he would hide, lacking the courage to appear before her. He drank every day. After drinking, he would cry. His friends said, "Forget it. Emily obviously doesn't value your dignity." How could he not let go of his pride? Why chase after an ex-wife? Ethan thought they had a point, so he mustered the courage for a chance encounter with Emily. When she saw him, Emily was surprised. She smiled and said, "Long time no see." That demeanor, that tone, as if they had never been together, as if they were truly just old friends reuniting after a long time. Ethan couldn't take it. He asked Emily, "Can we start over?" Emily shook her head. "I never knew that letting you go would make me feel this relaxed. You didn't do anything wrong. Your decision to divorce was the right one." After hearing this, Ethan felt a chill run down his back and his heart turned to ashes. Emily started a new relationship 3 years after their divorce. Someone asked her when she would get married. Emily smiled and said, "I no longer set expectations for how far this person and I will go. I'll just go with the flow." After hearing this, Ethan sneered. He felt her new partner couldn't compare to himself. After all, Emily had once told him she was against marriage, but she changed her mind because of him. She wanted to get married. She wanted to grow old with someone. Ethan laughed and then cried again. He knew he had killed the Emily, who once had beautiful hopes for the future. He did not deserve to be forgiven.